The timeline shown is 1979. This whole episode tells us about all the characters' lives, how things have changed as new people come in and old ones leave. At the beginning of the episode, the timeline is set in 1979. We all knew that Dr. Brenner had died because he was attacked by Demogorgons. But in this episode, we see Dr. Brenner working again. The next scene takes us straight to the Hawkins lab, where there are many children like 11. Numbers are written on their hands, meaning these are the same children who have always been part of experiments. Dr. Brenner walks in with one particular child whose hand says 010. This child's name is 10. Brenner tells the child, "Let's learn something new today." The same kind of experiments are being conducted on 10 as were done on 11. Tests to discover new psychic abilities. Dr. Brenner says that today's class is about telepathy, and he asks the child to tell him what their teacher is doing inside the next room. 10 begins to focus, and soon he starts seeing everything happening inside. Then he tells Brenner that everyone inside is dead. The children, the guards, even the teacher. Hearing this, Dr. Brenner gets alarmed because 10 cannot lie. Suddenly, there's a huge explosion. Something slams directly into Dr. Brenner's head and he falls unconscious. When he wakes up, 10 is gone. As he steps outside, he finds all the guards, doctors, and children dead. Someone had attacked the lab, but who? When Brenner enters another room, he's shocked to see 11 standing there, much younger. The same 11 we saw 8 years earlier with the president in 1978. She looks furious, her eyes glowing with rage. 11 was so powerful that when she got angry, she could kill anyone in her way. Now, the timeline jumps to 1996. 11 and the Byers family have moved to California, and 11 can now only communicate with Mike through letters. In her letter, 11 writes about how her life is going. She tells Mike that Joyce has found a good job, and because of that, they now live in a big house. She also mentions that she is doing fine, but not everything is as good as it seems. 11 has no real friends at school. She's bullied, teased, and often hurt in class. Her life is very hard. On the other hand, Mike's life seems much happier. We see him rushing to school because he's running late. We also meet Dustin, whose girlfriend Susie is a genius hacker. Dustin even gets Susie to help him hack the school's computer system to change his grades. Then we see Steve and Robin. They have become best friends. Steve still doesn't have a girlfriend, and Robin, who likes girls, doesn't have one either. Meanwhile, in Max's life, things have changed a lot. After Billy's death, she became emotionally broken. She ended her relationship with Lucas, started living alone, and even began seeing a counselor. She has lost interest in almost everything. Then we see a basketball match at school. Everyone is cheering. Lucas Quine has joined the team because he wants to fit in and be liked by others. Mike and Dustin are sitting in the audience cheering for him. Lucas believes that if he wins this game, people will respect him, and maybe his friends will become popular too. But Mike and Dustin don't say much in response. At the same time, Dustin keeps trying to talk to Max, but she always avoids him. The scene then shifts to Joyce's home, where she receives a mysterious package. She tried talking to her again and again, but she never spoke to him. On the other side, we see Joyce at her home. She receives a strange package covered with many foreign stamps, which makes her both shocked and curious. When she looks closely, she realizes that these stamps are not from California or anywhere nearby. They're from Russia. Joyce carefully opens the package, and inside she finds a doll. It looks somewhat creepy, not cute at all. This makes Joyce very uneasy. She starts wondering why someone would send her such a thing. Meanwhile, in another scene, we see 11 in her classroom. It's presentation day, and all students are asked to give a presentation about their hero. When 11's turn comes, she gives her presentation on her father, Jim Hopper, the man who saved Hawkins. But the kids in her class are rude and arrogant. They start making fun of her and her presentation, teasing her for believing in a made-up hero. 11 gets hurt but tries to hold back her emotions. She couldn't really fit in with the other students. Despite being insulted, 11 continues her presentation and talks about her father proudly. Then the scene shifts to Max. She's still not speaking to Lucas and walks away because she has to go to her counseling session. At the counselor's office, the counselor gently asks, "Max, How are you feeling? Your grades have dropped a lot lately. The school has been sending kids with emotional issues to therapy because their marks and behavior have been worsening. When Max is asked about how she's doing, she lies, saying she's fine. But deep down, she's still haunted by the death of her brother Billy, who died right in front of her eyes in the last season. Later, Lucas tries to talk to Max again, but she ignores him completely and walks off to the bathroom. Inside, Max washes her face and suddenly starts seeing strange visions, flashes of her past, her trauma, and her brother's death. Then she hears a weird sound coming from one of the bathroom stalls. It turns out to be Chrissy, the head cheerleader and girlfriend of the school's basketball captain. Max asks her if she's okay. Chrissy nervously says, "I'm fine, just leave me alone," but something is clearly wrong with her. Then we get a major plot reveal. Chrissy starts experiencing horrifying visions. She sees her parents yelling at her. Strange noises fill the air, and then the lights go out. Suddenly, a monstrous tree-like creature appears before her. It opens a door made of darkness, the same terrifying portal that connects to the Upside Down. Chrissy screams in terror, and the scene cuts off. People think it's all in her imagination, but it's not. Meanwhile, we return to Mike and Dustin. Both of them have joined a new group called the Hellfire Club. Their leader is Eddie Munson, a wild, eccentric, rock-loving guy who plays guitar and loves Dungeons and Dragons. Eddie is unpredictable, confident, and a bit of a rebel. The kind of guy who doesn't care what others think. Mike and Dustin are already members, but since Lucas is busy with basketball, they need one more player for the next campaign. Eddie refuses to cancel the game. "No way we're canceling Hellfire tonight," he says. At the same time, Joyce calls Murray Bauman, the eccentric private investigator and conspiracy theorist. She tells him about the doll Dolian she received. Murray immediately gets alarmed. He says, "Joyce, that doll could be a trap. What if the Russians sent it to spy on you? It could have a transmitter or even a bomb inside. Don't touch it. Check every inch carefully. Maybe there's a hidden message inside." So Joyce carefully starts breaking the doll open, determined to find the truth. Then the story shifts to Jonathan, who is now living in California. His best friend is Argyle, a laid-back stoner type guy who always drives around in his pizza van. Argyle keeps teasing Jonathan about Nancy, asking if they're still together. We learn that Nancy is now a student reporter at her school, writing for the school newspaper. Despite the distance, she and Jonathan are trying to maintain their long-distance relationship. They keep reassuring each other that everything's fine, even though things clearly aren't the same anymore. Later, Mike and Dustin go around asking everyone to join their game that night. But Steve, Robin, Nancy, and even Susie Noy refuse. They're all busy. Meanwhile, back in Hawkins, Chrissy walks alone through the woods after school. The place is quiet and eerie. Suddenly, she starts hearing whispers and sees a grandfather clock embedded inside a tree, ticking loudly. That clock, as we'll later learn, is the first sign of the curse, the mark of the Vecna. Everyone who sees that clock is marked by him. Back at the other end, Chrissy meets up with Eddie Munson in the woods. Eddie was there to sell her some drugs. Chrissy looks scared and distracted. Eddie tries to lighten the mood and starts chatting with her, and surprisingly, they begin to connect. Their friendship feels oddly genuine. Two people from different worlds sharing a quiet moment. Meanwhile, 11 Inc. is seen leaving school with Will Byers. Suddenly, the same girls who bullied her earlier come and push her hard. Her project falls to the ground and breaks into pieces. 11 gets furious. For a moment, she wants to use her powers to hurt them, but she can't. Her powers are gone, just like we saw at the end of last season. Everyone laughs at her, calling her crazy and pretending to be a superhero. 11 feels humiliated, heartbroken, and powerless. If she still had her powers, she might have fought back, but now she can only cry. Back at Cheater Edbar Joyce's house, she finally breaks open the doll, and to her shock, she finds a hidden letter inside it. Elsewhere at the school gym, the big basketball game is happening. It's an important one. If Hawkins wins, they'll break a 22-year record. The crowd goes wild. Meanwhile, Robin, Steve, and Nancy are sitting in the stands, joking and laughing. They gossip about one of the cheerleaders, making fun of her eating habits, the same Chrissy who, at that very moment, is having her worst nightmare elsewhere. As the basketball match and the Hellfire game both reach their climaxes, tension builds. Two different worlds, two different battles, both heading towards something dark and terrifying. Because what happens next changes everything. Actually, it was Erica. She had an amazing role in the last season of Stranger Things, and this time too, she was brought back right in the first episode. When Erica is told, "You're bringing a kid into this, how will she play the game?" she proves she's no ordinary kid. She gives such sharp replies that even Eddie has no comeback. Now, everyone's gathered together, and the whole crew is back. Meanwhile, Nancy is covering the school team story, while on the other side, work on Eddie's death case is still ongoing. Winning this school match is extremely important for everyone. One participant got injured, which gives Lucas a chance to step in. If Lucas wins this game, he'll become everyone's hero. The match gets intense with suspense building on both sides. Mike and Erica also need to play their cards smartly. At the same time, Lucas gets one final opportunity, and he scores. On the other side, Erica defeats the opposing team's captain in an incredible move. Eddie shouts in disbelief, wondering how he could possibly lose. Meanwhile, in front of the whole school, Lucas becomes the hero. He's officially made a team member now. Viewers also feel a little bad that his old friends didn't come to watch his big moment. We then see Max, who's listening to the match on the radio. Even though she's been keeping her distance from her friends, she hasn't completely disconnected. Max has been taking meds to keep away from depression. One day, she goes outside to feed her dog and sees Eddie with a girl, but Max can't tell who that girl is. She ignores it and goes back home. Later, Chrissy says to Eddie, "You were supposed to give me the drugs." Eddie goes to find them, but things start getting strange. Chrissy experiences terrifying visions. She sees her old home, her mom and dad looking horribly decayed. Her mother looks like a skeleton, and her father's eyes are gouged out, his face sewn shut. Eddie tries to wake her up, but Chrissy is trapped inside her nightmare world. He desperately tries to help, but she can't come back. She's stuck. Chrissy runs around trying to escape, but every door in the house is locked. The evil presence keeps closing in. Then, out of nowhere, Vecna appears in front of her. He says, "Don't be afraid. You were meant to come to me." Suddenly, he lifts her into the air and starts twisting her body. Her bones snap one by one. Her face contorts. Her eyes burst out, and blood pours from her face. She's killed brutally, turning into a lifeless husk before crashing to the floor. Eddie watches all this in horror, terrified, unable to believe what just happened. He hadn't even touched her. The episode ends right there, on a shocking note. So guys, the upcoming episodes will be full of suspense. Let's see what happens next. So we'll meet again in the next episode. The last episode of Stranger Things ended with the same shocking question. Someone had attacked Chrissy, every bone in her body was broken, her eyes had popped out, and she was dead. The second episode picks up right after that intense ending. Still, we haven't been told much about Hopper, though his role is hinted at. The scene cuts back to Joyce, who witnesses an explosion. She shuts down a mysterious machine, causing a huge blast, one so big it seems no one could have survived. But in the next moment, we see Hopper, lying on the ground, alive but injured. Meanwhile, the next morning, Max wakes up to find police cars outside Eddie's house. Eddie's uncle had called the police, reporting that there was a dead girl inside. When the officers enter and see the body, they're horrified. They've never seen a murder this gruesome before. Max sneaks a look and realizes her suspicion was right. The girl she saw last night was indeed Chrissy. We also see a scene from earlier that day where someone's call is being recorded. And as we've learned in every Stranger Things season, whenever a voice is recorded, it means someone's life is in danger. Then we see Will, Jonathan, and their friends waiting at the airport for Mike to arrive. When Mike lands, they all greet him, but it's clear the friendship between Mike and Will isn't what it used to be. Jonathan's weird friend also makes awkward comments to Mike. At the same time, Murray arrives to meet Joyce, and we see Steve and Robin, who've learned a lot from working with the group. Robin still has her usual bad luck when it comes to picking crushes, as Steve jokes about her always liking the wrong girls. There was no real choice left, but they all managed to like The Office. Robin always used to talk about the wrong girls, and just then, a news story came on TV. A girl from Hawkins High School had been brutally murdered. The whole team, including Robin, saw the report. No one knew who the girl was yet. Then we see Chrissy's boyfriend. This group of friends always partied together. Since their relationships had already fallen apart, the first suspicion naturally fell on Chrissy's boyfriend. He had also seen the news on TV about a girl's death, but had no idea it could be her. Meanwhile, Nancy also heard about it. That's why her front floor friend says to her, "Who else would read this news but you? Something big has happened. You must already know about it." So Nancy decides to investigate along with her friend. At the same time, Dustin also sees the news, and Max comes to meet him. Why does Max come to see Dustin? Let me tell you. She was already a member of the group and probably knew more about Eddie than anyone. Max tells Dustin, "Please believe me. I might not remember everything clearly, but what I saw was real. I saw Eddie and Chrissy together that night. They both entered the house together. Just because Chrissy died doesn't mean Eddie killed her. It felt like someone else was there, and maybe that person killed her. But to find out, we'll have to go to Eddie himself. Dustin finds this hard to believe. How could a guy who was laughing with a girl yesterday suddenly kill her? But if Eddie was hiding, what could they do to find him? Now the scene shifts to Murray, who has reached Joyce's house. Together, they try to decode a strange letter written in confusing language. After decrypting it, they find a phone number and a note that says, if you want to save him, call this number. Murray was suspicious that this might be a setup or surveillance by the Russians, so he prepares with security equipment and decides to call the number. Next, we see Hopper, who had been captured earlier. He was brutally tortured, beaten every day, suffocated with an oxygen mask, and forced to confess who he worked for. The Russians believed he was an agent who had shut down their machine and suspected he was working for the U.S. government. Meanwhile, in California, Jonathan has moved with the kids. They go to a mall. 11, Elle lies to Mike, saying she's busy with her new friends and always out partying. Mike doesn't understand why she's lying. When he confronts her about it, Elle insists it's between them and none of his business. Later, Will ends up alone while the others hang out. Coincidentally, Elle's friends, the same girls she mentioned, show up at the skating rink. They mock her and reveal she has a boyfriend. Back in Hawkins, the police question Chrissy's boyfriend. When did you last see her? Did she fight with anyone? He can't make sense of it. But after hours of questioning, he learns the dead girl was indeed Chrissy. When the police leave, he's devastated and runs into the woods. Meanwhile, Dustin and Max use a helpline to track down Eddie. They go to Steve and Robin's video store and start making calls. Nancy and her friend, still investigating, visit Chrissy's crime scene pretending to be babysitters. Nancy talks her way past the police by claiming her friend lives there. Inside, she finds strange clues, signs that something supernatural might be happening again in Hawkins. An older man, Eddie's uncle, tells Nancy a story. This isn't the first time something like this happened. Years ago, a man named Victor Creel killed his whole family. Their bones were broken, their eyes were gouged out, but Victor survived. He said it wasn't him, that some evil presence did it. Nancy starts connecting this case with the old Creel murders. Meanwhile, another victim starts having strange visions, just like Chrissy did. He's drawn into the forest, hears a clock ticking, and then, like Chrissy, his body rises into the air. His bones snap, his eyes pop out, and he dies horrifically. Back in Russia, Hopper's condition worsens. But we learn through Murray and Joyce's investigation that he's still alive, imprisoned somewhere in a Russian camp. A guard secretly tells Joyce over the phone, if you believe me, bring $40,000 to Alaska. Hopper is alive. Back in California, Mike and Will argue, but soon reconcile and go to look for Elle. She's hiding, crying after being humiliated at the skating rink. Her anger builds until she storms out and smashes Angela's face with a roller skate. The same Elle who once killed to protect others is back. Will and Mike witness the attack and are shocked. Meanwhile, Steve, Robin, Dustin, and Max finally find Eddie's hideout. When they enter, Eddie panics, thinking they're the police, and pulls a knife on Steve. Dustin calms him down. We're your friends, Eddie. We believe you. Just tell us what really happened that night. Eddie explains that Chrissy's death wasn't his doing. Something monstrous killed her. Nancy, at the same time, realizes that all of this connects back to the Upside Down and Hawkins' lab. The boy who just died in the forest also saw the same vision. A dark, skeletal creature that kills by breaking bones and sucking out eyes. The monster lifts him into the air, exactly as it did to Chrissy. Now we finally see that monster, the one tormenting Hawkins, and learn its name, Vecna. But who Vecna truly is, where he came from, and how he connects to the Hawkins experiments. That will be revealed in the upcoming episodes. For now, we can't call this story complete. It's only the beginning of something much darker.